inspired me. So let's talk a little bit about it. Explain what the gay crow is. What is the gay crow for everyone on the call?
So Gay Crow is based on the Indian fable, and in the we had a storybook in childhood. So there's a gay crow who is gay. In Marathi, it means happy, happy crow. But it also means gay crow. And he's so happy all the time. So the king who lives around there, he hears about him, and he said, "How can that be happy crow?" So I'll show him how not to be happy. And he sends his soldiers out. He says, and the soldiers grab the crow and they put him in jail. But the crow remains happy. So the king says, "Oh, we'll throw him in horn, uh,
Thorns.
thorns." So, but the crow remains happy. So there are some songs related to that, how happy he is with the thorns. Someone suggests to the king that throw him in hot oil. So it throws him in the hot oil. Then still crow is happy. Then it puts him in the hot oven. So he's still happy. So finally the king gives up and says, let's all be happy like this crow. So that was the story. And as I was growing up, I was always a happy child. And my uncle, who saw me playing with other children, he thought that he always looks happy, and he started calling me Gay Crow. So that's what the name represents. And later I thought about it and said, yeah, that's really true. I'm always looking for the positive things that happen in the life, and I forget about what the negative things happened. So that makes me Gay Crow.
And I love the little wink, wink. As you're growing up as a young gay boy, your uncle's telling you the story, and I thought that was really cute. The connection of not knowing yet you were out, but also just the significance of that. And you know, when I read the book, it was like setback after setback, but yet you were still to persevere, and just truly truly inspiring throughout your life. But why did you decide to write the book?
So, as you know, I had a stroke about 10 years ago. And after the stroke, I was really difficult to day-to-day life became very difficult. Stroke affected my left brain, which means my right arm and right leg. So then, in addition, I broke my jaw. So I had only one good leg left, and I wasn't functioning very well. So my partner, husband, then he decided that we should do something about it, and uh, we discussed several options. And I said, I don't want to live anymore. So he agreed, sort of agreed, but he said you should talk to a psychologist and get
Mhm.
second opinion. So then I went to two different psychologists, and they didn't work well. So then I went to third psychologist whom I connected with, and in the process, I told him the whole story about what happened to me and how I became who I am, etc. So in the end, he said, "You should write a book about this." But at the time, I thought, "Oh yeah, good, fantasy, nice fantasy." But later, I started thinking about it, and they said, "Yeah, that really would help other people." So I decided to write about the book, and then wrote it in a conversation format. with me and my psychologist.
And I thought that was so interesting and creative. It was just the conversations that you had, and you were so vulnerable in the book and just so honest. And I think that is why it connected so well with me, and I'm sure other readers, was the vulnerability of that, and your you know thoughts of ending your life, or your thoughts of suicide, but just the way you talked about it. It wasn't like somebody, it seemed extremely depressed in life, but it was just
Yeah.
this intellectual way to describe it. I lived my life, and I just would like to end that. um do you feel that, you know what throughout your life was that moment where you started having those thoughts?
The thoughts really happened to me only after my stroke.
Okay.
After about a year in the stroke, first I thought I will get better, and it wasn't happening. So about a year and a half went by, and I said, no, it's not happening. It's not. This is the end. So uh, have lived a life before with a lot of positive things I did. So it's time to go. So that's what my thought uh,
Hmm.
when I started therapy.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting. In each session, you see, the topics that you touch upon, and you talk to, about, as a young boy, all of us, I'm sure, on this call, you start getting thoughts that I'm different, and you can't really connect it to, because you're still young. But as you kind of grow into the early teens, and you kind of, through exploration, you start trying to figure it out. In honor of, like, National Coming Out Week, um, how was it? Want to tell me about your coming out story, and in your life in India, and maybe the stigma, or what was that experience like for you?
So when I was in India, I realized that I'm gay so early on. When I started having the feelings, it was always towards other men. And but the I also knew that it's not talked about. Unlike in Western society, where the religion says it's wrong, Hinduism doesn't say it's wrong. Doesn't say anything about it.
Hmm.
So it was for me in my mind. I thought I'm the only one who like that.
Hmm.
I'm the only one with those feelings. But so I didn't have much to do with the feeling because none of my friends did anything with their feelings. So I just kept that with myself until I came to United States. And then I decided that, oh, this thing really works. Uh, there are people around who are like this, and people are openly living like that.
Hmm.
So I decided to come out to be my mother. Who was the first person I decided to come out to. And I had promised myself that before I come out to my mother, I won't tell anybody else. But what happened was I was in New York. This is the first year, and a friend of mine who lived in New York, he was going to show me the city, and the what happened was I actually went to the city and I met someone in the bathhouse. And next day, when with my friend, he was showing me around. I came across the same person that I met before, and he had just he said hi to me, and my friend who was also Indian friend, he was amazed. He said, "How do you know this guy?" So I had to tell him. And the other thing was I never another guiding principle was I never lie. So I said, now how do I tell him that? I have to tell my mother first. So I closed my eyes. I imagined I'm going to India, and I told my mother. Then she accepted, and I came back in my mind. And then I told my friend. So that's how I felt first time come out.
You know, and when I read that too, it reminded me so much of when I came out to my friends, my male friends, right? In your mind, you put this, what are they going to say? But I think one of your friends' reaction was like, oh well, move right on. You know, it didn't really phase him. And I thought, you know, because I was like, wow, that was for me too. And I'm sure, you know, we all have our stories as well. But when I read your story about you coming out to my, that is why it was like, that was almost like how I came out to my mother. It was, you know, it was just like she fully accepted it. And you know, the fear of rejection from your mother, that fear of that
Yeah.
as an LGBTQ, it's strong because it's like, if your mother doesn't love you, who will? So that was why I also, you know, related to your story. Hey, if you guys want to throw a question in the chat while we're talking, it's just an open conversation. Feel free. Uh, you know, want to involve you throughout. If I see any chats, or you know, Shirley, Jennifer, if you want, if you see one come through, go ahead and let's talk about that. So, okay, so I want to talk about too your diagnosis with HIV in the 1980s, because that is also like another almost coming out. You know, friends of mine that are positive, you talk about, you know, you come out as gay, then you know you're coming at, you know, with that, with this stigma attached. Um, when I read your reaction in that room when they're telling you results, you know, can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, and you know, we know the time of the 80s when, you know, people are watching their friends die, but a little bit about, you know, their diagnosis with HIV.
Yeah. So when I came to US, and again, I was one of the high intellect person. So uh, none, all these things always seem like a puzzle to me. And I always thought, oh well, this is how the society works. This is how something else works. And in that process, I sometime before I actually diagnosed with HIV, I heard about HIV, heard about AIDS, but I figured that it must be some mental problem because only happens to gay people. So it cannot be just general disease. But then I came across one person who had AIDS, and then I said, "Oh well, this is interesting." But then later came out that Dr. Fauci discovered there is a virus. So then the solution was to not to have any contact with the other people. But there was no test for it. So when
Mhm.
finally the test came out, it was at the time when the test, if you turned out to be positive, the insurance company used to drop you. And that was a really bad thing at the time. And so I said, we'll have to wait till anonymous testing is available. So we waited for about a year, and anonymous testing became available. So I went to the test, and it turned out that I was positive. And I said, "Oh well, uh, no big deal. I'll drive it in a year. There's nothing different about it." Then I went home, and suddenly I realized that, oh no, now I can't have sex. So I said, "Oh no, if you can't have sex, that means your life is over." And then I
Yeah.
freaked out just for that day. And if that same time a friend showed up, we had scheduled a date before. And I said, "Oh, you can't touch me because I'm positive." So he said, "Oh, that's okay. We always have safe sex. So no matter, this doesn't change anything." And that suddenly made everything calm to me.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it seemed like, well, if life is, wherever life is going to take me, we'll allow it.
Yeah, and that the theme of the gay crow, whatever, like puts in find joy and happiness in it, and I think it just what as I was reading the book and I was imagining that and like, okay, so now what? You decided to try, to survive, and you started cold calling labs to get on trial, right, for medications. And so tell me a little bit about that. When did you decide I'm just going to pick up the phone and just start dialing?
So it took about 20 years before that happened. So
Okay.
first 10 years, almost first 10 years after the diagnosis, I had some symptoms, but mostly not consequential symptoms. But later it became very prominent. I developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I somehow survived from that, and it was about third time when I was really close to dying. So it has happened to me twice before, and about 20. It has been 20 years I've been living with this, and only time I would take a new medicine that came out, and it will not have effect on me because the virus had mutated already. And by the way, my speech right now is a little disabled. That's because of the stroke. So, it was about in 2006, uh, when the doctors had decided that he's going to die now. And I was about to, they had given me about 3 months that I'll last. And I stayed home, and it said, what am I going to do? So I said, well, I have to try, give it another try. And mostly for a joke, because I didn't want to leave him. So
Hmm.
I said, so I just picked up the phone and I started calling different organizations, all doctors' offices, all um, uh, yeah, drug companies, and all the different places I could think of. I started calling and asking, "Do you have any solution to this? Do you have any drug available? Do you have any test drug available?" And about 200 phone calls, after 200 phone calls, I found one who had one drug in trial that was in Houston, and I was in Washington, D.C. But then I called them, they said that there's one trial of the same drug going on in Philadelphia. Then I called them and they said, oh, our list is full. You can call the Georgetown, which has the same drug and a trial going on. So I called them and they said, we have about 10 people in the waiting list already. So I said, add my name to the waiting list. And they said, no, what's the point? So I said, oh, why don't you just add my name? And that turned out to be very fortunate because at this when they called me, it was the last day they had to fill the slots, and someone had dropped out, and they tried to call all 10 people ahead of me, and they finally said they called me as a last resort, and I had all the documentation ready, and I said, we jumped in the car and went there and got the uh,
That
medicine.
it's amazing, and it's like whatever your higher power of the universe said, like, no, this man needs to live. He needs to tell a book. He needs to be touching so many people with your story that in when I read that, I in my mind I was thinking, how did he keep going? I mean, no, 200 calls. And finally, you get the trial. but you don't know if you're going to get the placebo or the
Yeah,
drug. And
yeah.
so that, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, you're hopeful, but yet are they going to give me the drug and the placebo? And I was so happy when you got your T cell count started going up and you realized, okay, this isn't the placebo. I'm actually,
Yeah,
taking the drug. What was that like getting that first, getting your first lab results during the trial where you kind of just your attitude, well, we'll see what happens, or
yeah,
when you saw the,
yeah.
that your
That's the
T cells
first
were actually
time.
going up.
Yeah, they're not T cells. Uh, it was a viral load that went down.
Okay, the viral load. Okay.
Yeah, and that was the first time in 20 years that viral load had gone down. And in the second test, which is in 4 weeks, it became undetectable. And that was unbelievable because my viral load was in millions at a time. So within a month, it went down to undetectable. So I said, "Oh, now this is like a new life." So I
Mm-hmm.
named it as Life 2.0.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that, and I love the 2.0, the 3.0, how you described your life. What also I felt that was very fascinating with this journey was that is that you are an software engineer. You are working in with some heavy duty projects here in the United States, and you were actually identified as a high potential with one of your employers. And that struck me because I manage talent here with Fujitsu, so I work with our high potentials here. And it struck me when I read that you were at work still performing, exceeding expectation at a level with your diagnosis, and still going into the bathroom and taking your medication secretly at work. How did you balance that? Was your work, did it just give you something to focus on? Like, how did you able to keep your performance so high at the time when you were in dealing with your diagnosis?
For me, the diagnosis was not really as big. Most of my friends had already died, and it was just like things that will happen to me. Well, we'll deal with it when it happens. But my concentration was always on the work,
Mhm.
always on the performance. And in the meantime, I used to take pills in the hidden in the bathroom, but it never came out to anybody.
Mhm.
So performance and work was the priority, and rest of the health thing was, oh well, if I die in a year, so big deal.
Yeah. I want to bring Joe in a little bit here. Joe, I thought it was when Vishwas was telling you, I have something to tell you, and you said, I have something to tell you too. And I thought when I read that, I was like, you're both kind of scared to disclose these things. And I know with you, if it was the fact that you were a chaplain, in the military, correct? If I'm,
Right. Air
and
Force.
yeah, why were you afraid to tell him that from your perspective?
Well, he was atheist, and my experience with a lot of atheists was they don't like religious people, and I was kind of professionally religious.
Mhm.
So that was about it. And I think I'd run into people in my life who were kind of turned off by the idea that that's what I did. That
Mhm.
I was a chaplain in the Air Force, and before that, I was a parish priest. So just
And
not sure how he would react to that.
and when he told you of his status, what was going through your mind?
I was concerned for him, but otherwise, it was, yeah, that's part of who you are, and
Mhm.
I'm falling in love, so Don't worry about it.
And that was
It
39 years ago.
That's
34.
amazing.
Yeah,
The
34, yeah.
I love that and there's a love story through this as well. There's this love story, and there's a part of the book where you had to make a choice about your career, and you decided that you were going to go and support Vishwa, but that you were going to you know essentially end your military career. What was that a hard decision for you?
I knew I would miss it, but it really wasn't that big a decision. I knew where it was going to end up. It was knowing myself. The question was, how long is it going to take me to get there?
Hmm.
But that I would get there. And I did.
Yeah, I mean, the love story is just phenomenal. It's inspiring to stick by your partner through thick and thin. And, um, you know, I want to share with the group too, Vishal, in just in terms of your professional, you were one of kind of the thought leaders behind Grinder.
Yeah.
Correct. And I found that fascinating. You know, how were you interact? How did you know these co-founders? Was that like a party, if I remember correctly?
No, the way it happened is I had the same idea to do a app like that, but at the time when I had the idea, it was 2001, and there was no technology available. So I
Hmm.
left it at that. And when Grinder, I came across Grinder in iPhones, and they came. I contacted them through application, and the guy was somewhere in Los Angeles. So initially, they didn't believe me that I would do this work for free, and I would be. They didn't know about me, so they gave me some simple things to do competitive analysis and other stuff, some small stuff. But then it became apparent that I was able to do a lot more. So I became the one of the programmers and one of the three programmers.
Hmm.
And then one time I told this to someone in the party that I was developing that, and the guy just said, "Oh, you have saved so many lives," and he
Bowed
bowed down to
down.
me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just your professional background, and people don't know you're like an artist and also a poet. And I'm a songwriter as well, and which is basically just music behind poems. I loved how you brought it into your sessions, you know. When did your I can't remember, did your therapist tell you to bring in the poems, right? Because you told
Yeah.
him you're writing as a way to maybe help you as you're kind of going through your therapy sessions. um I'm going to read one to the group here. The one that I love the most was called Freedom, and so it goes like this.
But
My
one
mind.
thing, that all my poems in the book, they're written when I was 21 years old.
Okay, you wrote them when you were 21
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were younger. Wow, that's amazing. So this the poem Freedom. My mind which tries to find the meaning in the unknown, the one who tries to measure the eternal with trigonometry, the one who tries to find the emptiness in music, the one who finds energy in fossils while ignoring the energy in the universe, the one who is trying to find the realization in worldly things. Would someone explain that freedom is in the mind of the one who is already free? Powerful, powerful stuff. Well, how did you write that? Where were you when you wrote this poem? What, was it just in like, was there an experience, or were you just, you know, how did this poem come out?
Um, when I was in college, I used to think about all the possible things that happened to me, and I came across a technique to called what's it called something. I can't remember that right now. But then I started thinking about the philosophical things, what what life is about, and all this stuff. And in that, there's a neti is a word in Marathi, my language, that says the truth. There's nothing out there. So you search for something and you finally come out with nothing. And that
Mhm.
was the gist of the thing.
Mhm.
So I wrote about that.
Do you still write poetry now these days?
No, not now. I'm doing just art.
Just painting, just some.
Yeah.
Is that some of your artwork behind you right there?
It's in process. It's
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm gonna, if there are any questions here, feel free to raise your hand if anyone would like to ask a question. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep going. I don't think we have any in the chat yet. I just want to give a moment for anyone to ask questions. Okay. In terms of National Coming Out Week, what advice would you have for LGBTQ plus individuals navigating their coming out journey?
I would say that coming out is so important that for example, today's session, this event, will not be possible if we had all been stayed in the closet.
Hmm.
So the more and more people come out, then it becomes very visible how many of us are out there,
Yeah.
and that tilts the scale in the favor of us or survival. But how to come out is not easy to answer. But everyone should figure out how to do that. And but finally, everyone should come out is what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah, and
without that, we won't have any society here.
no, absolutely. Visibility was key, and that was part of, why we do these employee networks and inclusion networks, right? To be able to just be your true self and to be visible. And I think when, the coming out process, when you say truly who you are and you live your a life true to yourself, and you connect with people. And I think people back in the day didn't know who was gay or not. My uncle, grew up in a time, where, he was shocked that I had gay friends and straight friends mixed because he was so scared. One of my, early mentors in my life, talking about that and the visibility of why that's important. And, I tie that back to like why I come out here at work, why, we have these groups so that employees see the visibility, they see the support. We understand it's not easy, but we're here to help you through it. Because if I can get up in front of a group of people or my boss and come out and the way she supported me too, it helps others. It helps others so that, we can focus on the imagination and our ideas and not that pressure of being like found out or being rejected. Um, what advice, we have a lot of allies here on this call, and we have a lot of, allies that support the LGBTQ community. What do you think are some meaningful actions or things, they can do, to help support people coming out?
Ah, that's a really tough question. You have any idea? You
You have any
can.
ideas, Joe? What do you think?
Well, I think first of all, if our allies are also our friends, it makes it easier for them to be uh, kind of voices in a segment of society that we don't have as much access to. They can just, even in casual conversation, the way that they describe their LGBT friends has an impact on people who don't really have an innate dislike of us, but they don't understand who we are.
Mhm.
So I think that's one thing that our allies do a good job of, is, normalizing the interaction.
And how long have you two been together? You said 35 years? Is that?
It'll be 35 years in February. Right now it's 34 and 9 months.
And what year did you get married?
Yeah,
2015.
Okay, in 2015.
a year
Uh,
before I had a stroke.
that most, like everyone, in the community wants to find a special partner, and yeah, what would you say for people looking, say, wow, what advice for relationship, can we, keep it, like, how are you, like, it's amazing, stay together for so long, like, what is the secret sauce to that?
I don't know really, but I do know that the today's environment makes it difficult because so many in the mix of so many people available, it becomes difficult to pick out one over the other. And
Yep.
back then, when we had very few people and only available in the going to the bars, and then he's gay. Otherwise, you don't if there's someone is interested. Then the choice and the availability was limited. So you have to you do um, compromise on some
Mhm.
issues. But now today, what happens is there's so much choice, and nobody wants to compromise. They think
Mhm.
everybody is meant for me, and that's it. And there's no such thing. So every relationship needs compromise.
Yep.
So they need to figure out who it is that you feel mostly compatible with, and the rest is compromising the uh, the thing that don't work.
Mhm. Yep. No, that's I could definitely appreciate that. Um, looking, we're good here on questions. Okay, I mean, I could talk to you all day, but so what is Vishwas 3.0 or 4.0 like? As do you have any other things you want to accomplish in your life? I see your artwork, and maybe another book. I know I keep throwing out a screenplay, a movie to this
Yeah.
book. But what does Vishwas 3.0 look like for you?
Yes, I'm working on a book, another follow-on to the current book, but I would like some ideas about doing a movie about this, because if it's done with proper fashion, there's a lot of good things that can be told to people, and it
Mhm.
can be very inspiring. But I don't know how to go about it.
That
But uh,
well, let's keep talking. I might be able to maybe try to help you. We do have a question. If there was a movie, do you have anyone that would play you or Joe in your mind? What actors would play you?
so someone like Brad Pitt of the time should play me.
That's great. That's a good question.
He doesn't look very Indian.
Yeah, yeah. There's some Indian guy who looks like that.
That's very cute. All right, we're coming down. I'm going to do just any other questions. If anyone in the audience would like a question or comment, we want to make this a discussion. Feel free. I know we got a lot. Okay, Shirley.
Yes, hi, Vishwas.
Hello.
I think you're just being quite modest because I did read your book. And for those that haven't, Vishwas is a member of Mensa. He's also an extraordinary software engineer, a gifted artist, a poet, now an author. So, and you've gone through so many adversities, like just you got lymphomia, you had HIV and then full blown AIDS, and I read where you fractured or broke your tibia and fibia and all these bones in your body, and the last thing was having the stroke. So but your spirit, you're so positive, and you just exude so much happiness, and I feel the love from you, and I just want to know how you did that. Like, what is the secret sauce? What's the secret to your positivity?
The secret is the gay crow attitude, is remembering what good is happening in your life, and just concentrate on that. And what's negative, what bad things happen, don't think about it at all. Just forget it. Just take the lesson you learn from that, but beyond that, don't give it any another thought. And
Mm.
for me, it's easy because it comes in myself, but it can be trained, and you learn it by um, just not acknowledging negative things that happen to you. Not acknowledging meaning, uh, not giving any importance to it.
Great advice. That's excellent advice. All right, last chance for questions here. Any other question? Just give it a minute here. Okay. Vishwa, I want to close with this, and truly, I mean, I surely can tell you, when I was reading your book, I could not put it down because I feel like in today's time, it is so uncertain. There is so much turmoil. There's so much suffering around the world. And it's like you see these little pockets of the human spirit or positivity or inspiration through all of this to help you endure through all of that. And I tell you, it's been something I can't even think of the last thing that inspired me. And you know, understanding the gay crow mentality, is perseverance and resilience, and that is what I'm taking from that book. As any adversity you go through, if this man did it and he was inspired and is a role model to you, it's just how you see the world, and it is a mindset, and so that is what I take from your book, is to find the joy in your situation where you can, and because we're in control of that sometimes when we're not in control of other things around us. I want to thank you so much for spending time with us. I know, Shirley, it's gaycrow.com, I believe is the website, correct?
Yeah. And
Yep, Shirley.
if anybody wants to write to me, they're more than welcome, and I can do chat, whatever the questions you have, I can answer very personal questions. And just look for the gaycrow.com and send me email.
Yep. And Shirley, we'll throw his email, Fishwa's email, in the chat so that we can offer that to our members. Heartfelt thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate you sharing your story, your tenacity to live, because those moments touched me in my life. And because of that, your survival of that, you are helping people and inspiring them. And so just a heartfelt thank you so much for spending time with you. We will stay in contact. I will continue to speak with you because it is a pleasure. Thank you so much. If we got a couple more slides here to kind of to wrap up. But let's give a hand. Thank you again to Vishwa for sharing his story, his bravery, and his vulnerability to inspire all of us. What an amazing day! It just uplifted me. It's been a long week, and thank you so much, both of you. It was just hats to you, and what a way to live your life and to help others to live their life and to find hope. Um, Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. All right, we got a couple on here before we close out.